Good night, Saint Lucia. Good night, everyone all around the world in the diaspora. A special welcome to this extra hot episode of Keeping It Real. Of course, I'm yours truly, Norbert Williams. And of course, just before we get into things, I'd like to say hello to all the fans of Keeping It Real who've been around for quite a while. Well, actually, almost a year and a half now. And the new home of Keeping It Real is right here on Hot 7 TV in full HD. That's right, folks. HD from the ground all the way up. Everywhere. It's HD Capete. You see, and I know many of you have been waiting for today because you've been after me to tell you what it's all about. Well, trust me, it's going to be hot. That's right, real hot. And I'm in here, and I'm telling you, folks, see where I'll take papier when you see Allah. But there's so much stuff to go through here with you tonight that I decided to cut back a bit because we wouldn't have enough time to deal with all of this satisfactorily. So I've decided to leave some back for another time. Trust me, it's not going to be too long from tonight when the rest of the analysis of the paralysis is going to be laid upon you real hot. So I'd like to say a special good night to some other fans who've come up to me. You know, people just look out or they make me out all over Saint Lucia. And canneries and millet, ancillary, special good night to those fans who came up to me from down there. You know, people see me in town and say, hey, you're keeping it real. I say, yeah, that's right. Or, you know, they're looking at me kind of strange. I know that's the keeping it real look. You know, when people look at you like, yeah, that's the keeping it real look there. So thank you for all the encouraging words. And thank you. Good night to Al Bundy. I got a message from a buddy of mine there. Al Bundy, that's what I call him, Al Bundy. So married with children. Special good night to you and yours. Special good night. Somebody told me today that there's quite a number of Keeping It Real fans in T-Dot, Toronto, to those of you who are not initiated. Those of you in Canada, thank you so much for tuning in. In the old US of A and in the UK, I know I just got a message just before I got to the studio that one or two fans of mine up there in the UK. What's the time now? 1:30 in the morning. They are watching. Thank you so much. You all are just great. And I hope not to disappoint you tonight because right here on Keeping It Real, I keep it real. That's right. You know, none of that stuff there. But maybe we'll have some of that tonight. You never know. So let's get right into the scheme of things. You know, it's been an interesting week since the last show. And people have been crying about the weather and all of that, you know. Well, somebody sent me a message there. You know, the interaction, the instant interaction with social media now and everything that you do. You know, I've decided to start paying a little more attention live to some of the comments that come to me directly here. And it's interesting the perspectives that some people have and from where they're messaging. But we've had some rainy weather a little bit. We're still in the hurricane season and we've had some really hot days. I don't complain about the heat. It's much better than the cold, trust me. But, of course, reminding you, folks, let me just send something here because somebody has sent me a rather pertinent message and I hope that they will get what I need from this response that I just sent. But of course, the mugs are coming, folks. Keeping it real. That special real water right there. That mug, I'm telling you, that mug makes everything taste 10 times better. It makes it so real. So let's get into things tonight, folks. Let's get into things tonight. You know, Somebody says my volume is very low. I don't know. Maybe you need to turn up the volume on your TV. But anyway, I know this guy always has problems. So tonight I want to go back a little bit in time, not so far away in time, 5 days ago, to a show on another station where some really outlandish statements, I will prove it to you. You see, right here on Keeping It Real, I keep it real with not just my analysis of the paralysis out of the sky. I don't just say things. I give you the evidence with which I come to my conclusions, my analysis of the paralysis. And you can agree with me, and you can disagree with me. But, you know, at the end of it all, you know, it's just the scheme of things. It's life. We don't have to be mad at each other, although some people are, "Arr! Arr!" And tonight, I want to play you a video clip because, you know, sometimes you hear things and you wonder if the people making those statements are on this planet, whether they lost in space, whether they discombobulated, whether it's something about a piche yo. Arr! And I will let you hear for yourself, but I'll quickly introduce the character. None other, folks, none other than Buddy. Let's go with Buddy.
A new Saint Lucia. A new Saint Lucia. He told the people, I think is in either New York or England, I can't remember, where you'll be claiming customs from down here. U.S. Customs from Saint Lucia. Mon Dieu. Chaste. Way. He said, hey man, I don't really want to speak. Oh gosh, I should have played that clip tonight, you know, folks know I have too much to deal with. You know, I don't really want to speak about it yet, you know, but he don't want to speak about it, you know, but you know, but we're in discussions and we are progressing quite smoothly that you will claim immigration in Saint Lucia. So when you reach the United States, you walk out and go. Chasney, stop fooling the people, man, with your crap. Stop it!
You know, folks, I wanted this to play so you could hear Buddy himself. Everything there was allowed to play because I wanted you to hear it from the words, from the mouth of Buddy. I didn't want to paraphrase. I didn't want to report. I wanted you to hear it for yourself. And I know some of you out there, folks, are shaking your head in disbelief in the absolute nonsense that was just said there. I don't know when last Buddy traveled to the US. well, let's not even get into that. But apparently, Buddy is on the late train, apparently, to quite a bit that is happening in the US. And he's referring to Prime Minister Alan Chasney talking about getting pre-clearance in Saint Lucia for persons wanting to travel to the US. And that has come in the wake of discussions and revelations about the impending construction of the cruise ship port in Vieux-Fort, and that the old terminal now would be used for the charter flights of, you know, cruise ship passengers coming in to join the ship here. And when the voyage ends, they'll be flying out from Saint Lucia. And to facilitate the process, and as you may have heard, just what, yesterday, day before, last week, Saint Lucia recorded record numbers in tourist arrivals for August. So it seems like this government's strategy in working with the tourism industry, in marketing Saint Lucia, and doing so many different things to enhance Saint Lucia's image that it's all been paying off since elections. Record after record after award after award. It's all there, folks. It's all there. And don't be in denial, because if you're in denial, it's not a river in Africa. It's denial up here. And we know some people have some loose ones. But folks, this pre-clearance, US pre-clearance, I don't know what has restricted Buddy's travel, but I guess since he hasn't traveled to the States in a while, I don't know what his travel arrangements are. He may have not experienced it, but I have, and I'm sure quite a number of you have experienced US pre-clearance. If you've traveled to Canada and you want to fly to the US, quite a number of airports in Canada offer US pre-clearance, where you actually go through US customs and immigration outside of Canada. So when you get to the US, it's like a local, it's like an internal flight. You don't go through customs and immigration again. I've experienced that. I'm sure many of you have. But you know, just in case Buddy wants to contradict and say, let's go to video number 2 about the US Homeland Security. A video to expand. They actually have the intentions to expand their pre-clearance program. Let's go to the videotape.
The Department of Homeland Security is expanding its pre-clearance program, which allows people traveling to the United States to be screened by U.S. customs officials before they set foot on American soil.
Any opportunity we have to expand out this nation's homeland security beyond the 1-yard line to the 20 or the 30-yard line, I want to take.
The Department of Homeland Security Secretary Jay Johnson announced 11 new foreign airports in 9 countries working with DHS to offer pre-screening, including Bogota, Buenos Aires, Edinburgh, Osaka, Reykjavik, Mexico City, Milan, Rome, Rio de Janeiro, Sao Paulo, and St. Martin.
On May 1st, we announced a solicitation of interest from other airports to enter into pre-clearance discussions with us. I'm happy to announce that today we've identified 11 overseas airports at which we intend to enter into discussions to build pre-clearance capabilities in those airports. Through these 11 airports pass an estimated 10 million passengers bound for the United States a year.
If all goes to plan, travelers to the U.S. from these additional airports would undergo immigration, customs, and agriculture inspection before boarding a direct flight to the U.S. Those inspections would be done by U.S. Customs and Border Protection officials.
This is good for the homeland. It's good for efficiency.
Pre-clearance is already underway at 15 airports in 6 countries, including Canada, Ireland, the United Arab Emirates, Aruba, the Bahamas, and Bermuda. Secretary Johnson said airport screening is a key part of America's homeland security efforts.
Okay, that's enough of that video. That's enough of that video. We've got the gist of that.
To 6,000 individuals.
We have the gist of that video. Thank you. Folks, just in case you missed it, I want to go back to the initial video and get to the part where Buddy is talking about Prime Minister Alan Chasney as he spoke about pre-clearance, U.S. pre-clearance in Saint Lucia. Let's hear what he said again.
A new Saint Lucia. A new Saint Lucia. He told the people, I think is in either New York or England, I can't remember, where you'll be clearing customs from down here. U.S. Customs from Saint Lucia. Mon Dieu. Chasney. Way. He said, hey man, I don't really want to speak. Oh gosh, I should have played that clip tonight, you know, folks know. I have too much to deal with. You know, I don't really want to speak about it yet, you know. he don't want to speak about it, you know. But but we're in discussions and we are progressing quite smoothly that you will clear immigration in Saint Lucia. So when you reach the United States, you walk out and go. Chasney, stop fooling the people, man, with your crap.
Okay, that's enough, that's enough.
Stop it.
A man who was a former police officer, a man who was an elected representative and in government, a government minister, a lawyer, and would make such a bold-faced statement. I cannot understand how he was unable to, with the most cursory of investigations or Googling, not know or not find out that this is something not uncommon at all. In fact, you know, sometimes we need to have a little compassion. I think so. And maybe it's because he has not traveled to the US in a while that he has not experienced this facility in other countries. And mind you, the report which was played a while ago was from 2016. We're in 2019, 3 years later. So, of course, the US pre-clearance program has expanded quite a bit, and Saint Lucia is on the way to getting that facility right here when the new airport is opened. That is the plan. So, you know, of course, you know, sometimes people just make a fool of themselves. I leave that so you be the judge. So let's move on a little. You know, let's move on. Buddy, again, was on his show last week making a big deal about a government contract for LED lights, and he has the evidence and Mili Misa. That's it. There. So I will let you see the first part of these allegations of improprieties and corruption. Like tut bagay, you know, Buddy is the master of uncovering nonsense. Corruption again. Oh, he's on his high horse. Bagay show. Let's hear what Buddy had to say about a supposed contract between the government of Saint Lucia and a foreign company. Roll it.
Just like Lockerbie, no building, no bidding. No invitations to tender. Nothing of that sort. Millie. And that contract, folks, was signed on Friday.
Now pause just a moment here.
Supposed to have been signed by
Pause a moment here. This show, Buddy, was last week Thursday, the 10th of October. He is referring to last Friday, which would have been the 4th of October. The 4th of October. Remember that date. Continue.
Like I said, but he was out of state, so the usual suspect, Mr. Poodle,
Pause.
signed the contract.
Let's go back again about 5 seconds. Let's hear that.
I said, but he was out of state,
Beyond,
so
before
the
that,
usual
before that.
suspect, Mr. Poodle, signed. And that contract, folks, was signed on Friday. It was supposed to have been signed by the PM, like I said, but he was out of state, so the usual suspect, Mr. Poodle, signed the contract. Meanwhile, if you go to the Ministry of Infrastructure, I don't even think Stephenson King was on island when the contract was signed. But that ministry knows absolutely nothing about that. Let me say a special good night to Sarah.
Okay, that's it. You can stop that right there. Folks, I will tell you now, without a shred of doubt, that is an absolute fabrication. There is no evidence. There is absolutely nothing. Zero, zilch, nada, to prove or to show that any contract was signed the Friday before the 10th of October, as Buddy is saying over there. Never happened. And if he has, as he showed on his show, the contract which he said was dated the 7th of May, but signed on the 4th of October, I find it rather strange that he didn't show the signature page. I mean, that would be all the proof you would need. And I challenge Buddy to show the signature page, because his show is coming on Thursday. Porte, show the signature page and show the signatures. But hold on. He says that the Prime Minister, and that's Alan Chasney, that's the only Prime Minister we have right now, was not on island. And as a result, listen to what he said. I don't know who that is. But he said, of course, the poodle signed. But you know, in this day and age, let me see. You see credibility? Credibility is very important. And when you think that you're mamagaing people and giving them a little half-truth, a little and then everything else is a bunch of baloney, because the little bit that you gave there, you show a little thing saying it's a contract that was signed. So because you show the 7th of May and this, that, because nobody seems to know anything about that contract that was signed, dated the 7th of May on the front page. And you said the Prime Minister was not in Saint Lucia, so somebody else signed. Upa last fabricate bagay. Huh? Upa ka last fabricate. You did. Uka fabricate, pisa pa vwe. Ipa vwe, upa ni pièce evidence. C'est pour ça upa mouchwe page la ki ni signature piece. La panisa does not exist. And in fact, since you say the Prime Minister was not in Saint Lucia on that date and somebody else signed, let's go to the next videotape of Prime Minister Alan Chasney on the 4th of October, the same day you said he wasn't in Saint Lucia, at the CIP forum held at Sandals Halcyon from 9 to 3 p.m., 4 p.m. in the afternoon of that same day. Roll it.
Prime Minister thanks U.S. hospital ship. The Electoral Department gets a special guest on their open day. Public sensitization continues on the nation's CIP program, and all eyes are on the Castries waterfront. Join us as we recap the week that was in the Prime Minister's Weekly Diary. On Friday, Prime Minister Chasney delivered the feature address at the Investment Forum hosted by the Citizenship by Investment Program for Saint Lucia. The forum focused on due diligence and sought to educate key stakeholders. The event featured an overview of the program, which spoke to the challenges and opportunities, the role of due diligence firms, and the role of the Joint Regional Communication Center, JRCC.
That's it there. Prime Minister Alan Chasney. Those were not imitation people. Those were not cut out cardboard figures. They were real people, including the Commissioner of Police, persons from the CIP office, international persons from CIP-related industries, agencies, law enforcement, other persons with CIP interests. All of them can bear witness to the Prime Minister having been there for the entire day. So, how did Buddy come to that conclusion? Masav, Monday. You see, hey, messieurs, what's that they say about when you practice to deceive, blah, 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 blah? Ma même changé à présent. Puis, qualité bêtise ça, moi ton là, just ni moi qualité manier là, moi ça kachili. But just in case that was not enough, the following day, the Saturday, the 5th of October, unto which Buddy alluded in that same program about friends, family, and flambeaux, because it was a mega happening of the United Workers' Party. And Prime Minister Alan Chasney was there as well. So he was in Saint Lucia the Friday, he was in Saint Lucia the Thursday, he was in Saint Lucia the following day. So how Buddy came to the conclusion that the contract was signed on the Friday because Prime Minister Alan Chasney was not there leaves you to wonder, where's the credibility? How he came to that conclusion? So let's go to some photos of Prime Minister Alan Chasney. Say, friends, family, and flambeaux. The following day, the 5th, a Saturday, dinner event. Prime Minister Alan Chasney at the podium. Prime Minister Alan Chasney with persons attending the function. That's next one. And of course, folks, almost 800 participants can bear testimony to Alan Chasney being in Saint Lucia on that Saturday, as well as the 50 to 75 others who were at the CIP forum on the Friday and can attest to the Prime Minister being there. Uway, Esuway, Esutanli. Lack of credibility. All wrong. Ka try mislead mun. Ka pale about US Homeland Security, pre-clearance, a Chasney fool. Who's fool? We're not talking about fool's chicken. Those of you who can remember that one. Where was it on? What street there? High Street in the corner, in that one-time vacant lot. Fool's Chicken Van. Used to be on Bridge Street by Clark Cinema. Some of you will swear by that chicken, eh? Chasney fool. He lie. Me evidence la. Who's lying now? No credibility. No nada. But of course, it goes on. So let's hear what Buddy has to say. You see, I'm showing you a pattern of behavior, a pattern of statements. Pamwekidi, maybe, you know, let me be fair. Maybe I'm not understanding clearly what is being said, but I am pleased that I am offering you, the Keeping It Real crew, an opportunity to watch and to listen for yourselves and decide or make your own analysis of the paralysis and tell me whether the evidence supports the papi show that Buddy is saying, or whether it agrees with my analysis of that paralysis. So let's go, if we could get that full screen, let's go to the next video. airport
Okay,
project.
it says between the government of Saint Lucia
Full screen.
and KLED Capital Limited. Now, although the contract is actually dated May 7, 2019,
Listen to this now.
it actually was signed on Friday.
Utanli.
It was
Yes.
signed on Friday.
Right. That's that one. That one had a little issue a while ago. Just wanted
Good.
to get it there for you. So, let us go to the airport project video on that full
They
screen.
need access to the money, the dinero. Once there is a project that involves a substantial sum, they want to control who gets the contract so they can get the kickbacks. Look at the airport situation. Look at the airport. All was in order. The airport would have been completed by now had the Labour Party won the elections. Everything was good to go. St. Lucians, we went in reverse, you know.
Pause that right there.
St.
Pause
Jude
that.
would
Pause
have
that.
been completed.
Pause that.
The-
Pause that. The airport would have finished if the Labour Party had won the election. Are we supposed to believe that statement? Because the Labour Party won the elections in 2011 and they were in there for their full term. St. Jude's, which cost less money, did not open after the full term, and we're only 3 years now into a major project like the airport. He's saying that the airport would have been finished. OKEU was not opened. In fact, there was a naming ceremony for the OKEU hospital. Il n'a jamais ouvert. The roads were in a terrible state. Tout getaway sa en tout a brigidik buguduk. Ask the bus drivers, ask the car owners, ask anybody who drove on the roads how much it cost them in repairs, shocks, flats, suspension. Huh? Huh? What about the schools? What about desilting of the rivers? Oh, yeah, pas été fait. If anything was done, it was in the most minimal fashion ever. That's why we had so many problems. C'est quand le basque en tête Saint Lucia alors, il pas ça changer. And then of course, with the economy, recession in Saint Lucia. Recession! Zot pa vle tan li? Recession! Under the former SLP administration. Negative growth. Negative. Negative. But you want to talk about if SLP had won the elections. I mean, this is a cruel joke on St. Lucians. Somebody's lost their marbles. You know, I mean, St. Lucians, sometimes it takes a little refreshing of the memory for St. Lucians to awake. But this is absolute papi show. And it is substantiated by the facts. And if Buddy wants to contest that, all he has to do is to provide evidence to the contrary. After a term in office, was St. Jude's open? No. And I challenge you to tell me otherwise. After a term in office, was the OKEU open? No. After a full term in office, was the airport redevelopment project underway? No. So ki jab ma betis ou ka di moun? Ki sa ou ka di Saint Lucien? Sa pa vwe, pa vwe. And you could jump high and jump low. Ou sa jik roule en lete, ou fait tout bagay. Ou sa backstroke, ou sa breaststroke, ou sa nage en bas de l'eau. Ou sa jik mette en tube, ek flotte en la mer. It's not going to change the facts of the case. of this situation, the SLP was bad news for Saint Lucia. There's no contradicting that. It's a fact. And you can say whatever you want. And those who want to pretend know to themselves exactly what the situation was. And we know, come on, we know people when they want to just defend for the sake of defending. Ain't perfect. Ain't perfect. This is why the people of Saint Lucia voted the SLP out. Out. Philip J. Pierre himself accepted it in Parliament. That the people voted them out because they said that they could not run the affairs of state. He said it himself. But of course, Buddy knows something different to everybody else. You know, this is the disingenuous type of thing in Saint Lucia that we have to guard ourselves against. The SLP proved exactly what they were worth. It wasn't much. Because for a party that had been elected into office in 1997 with a 16-1 majority and given so many opportunities to make Saint Lucia great, they failed miserably, and their last term in office was testament to that. Did somebody get something wrong about their performance? I don't think so. You know, I'll let you think about that for a bit. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back. Back after the break. Well, welcome back, folks. That was a quick break. I'm sure you made your quick run to get your snacks, get your whatever you were getting. And you're back here for some more of the Keeping It Real action tonight. And the messages were coming in fast and furious here this evening. You know, I think this past week was just a compendium of comedy, if I can say such a thing. It was just comedy. Because on the heels of a statement by Alva Baptiste about why he didn't contend and make a big deal about him being pushed out as first secretary or first deputy leader of the SLP, we have Philip J. Pierre now at the party's function. Was it their convention or something? Where must have? At the John Odlum Secondary School, is it? In Marigot on the weekend. And of course, well, you know, I'm not even going to repeat some of the comments on social media that some people who are in the SLP, ardent supporters, were saying about Philip J. Pierre. I think that's them to deal with that. Maawi Petisa. But I will have my own analysis of what Philip J. Pierre said. And one of the highlighted statements of his from that event was that he would investigate corruption wherever there is credible evidence. As if that's something new. As if Philip J. Pierre invented the investigation of corruption. Philip J. Pierre, I might have you know, as an elected member of Parliament, it is your responsibility whenever you're elected into office to investigate corruption. This is not anything isolated to when you get into office, you're going to investigate the other side. And as a matter of fact, Philip J. Pierre, you are the chairman, the Public Accounts Committee. Right now, You don't need to get into government to launch any investigation. You're the chairman of that committee in the House. So why you have to suggest that you're waiting until elections? But I have a question for you. Can you say, Philip J. Pierre, puis c'est où qui dit ou c'est met? C'est où qui leader of opposition là? C'est où qui leader SLP là? Can you say unequivocally, without doubt, without shame, without wondering, can you say right now to the people of Saint Lucia that you have absolute and complete 100% confidence that there is no corruption in the midst of you and your members? It's a fair question, because if you want to charge with the corruption investigations, if you want to be at the front of that, you know that you're holding yourself to an even higher standard and saying to the people, indirectly of course, that all of these men, you have looked at them and are absolutely convinced that there is no corruption. There is no evidence of corruption. Nada. You have to clean your own camp first. Make sure there's nothing of the sort. Nothing of the sort. There have been lots of alligators, whether it be about minister's account, whether it be about Rochamel, whether it be about foreign diplomats, whatever it is, there have been allegations. Are you saying to the people of Saint Lucia tonight that as the leader of the opposition and as the man who's saying that he will charge forward and investigate any credible information of corruption, are you saying that you have looked into these very serious matters, these serious concerns by the people of Saint Lucia? I am challenging you to make that statement. Because, hold on now, hold on. Because you, Philip J. Pierre, in saying that you will investigate corruption, now, we all know the granddaddy of big boys in Saint Lucia. All the questions that have been asked and the problems that Saint Lucia is in, on the hook for $500 million US. The big one, the big kahuna, Philip J. Pierre, Grindberg. Have you looked into Grindberg? Oh, I shouldn't have to ask you that. I shouldn't have to ask you that. Because you were the deputy leader and you said you didn't know it. At some point, you did say you knew nothing about it. So it would be incumbent on you to find out the details and report to the people of Saint Lucia, since we're lost. In fact, the governments have been practically appealing, crying, umpire! We need information about what happened. And it seems like only two people really know the whole story. Dr. Kenny Anthony and Earl Huntley. These are the two who have been featuring. But the question to you, the question I have for Philip J. Pierre tonight, is that Philip J. Pierre has said, point blank, faiblesse, ipamele. If he gets into office, he has no intention of having any investigation into Grindberg. Oh, really? Really? You have no intention? So are you saying that you have conducted an investigation into Grindberg, Philip J. Pierre? And what were your findings? When did you report those findings? But you want to investigate other people. There are lots of questions about lots of things recently passed. You remember them? Because if you're carrying out investigations, you have to remember the concerns. And as the leader of the opposition now, and somehow, by whatever stretch, planning to be Prime Minister of Saint Lucia, whenever that happens, maybe the next 20, 30 years. But planning to be and being expected by some and not being expected to be Prime Minister by others. If you want to maintain that credibility, you have to subject yourself and your side to the same scrutiny that you want to subject others to. Isn't it so? Because before you can clean somebody else's house, you got to clean yours. Well, at least make sure that it's clean. Because you know it would be quite a slap in the face to say that you're going to undertake such investigations, and yet still you cannot convince the people of Saint Lucia that you have looked around you and made sure. You have to come out and say that. It is incumbent on you to say so before you enter into any such venture. You have to come forward and say, well, I've looked at Rochamel, whether it's Rochamel or whatever else. I've looked into Jufali, I've looked into this, I've looked into that, because these were major concerns for the people of Saint Lucia. You have to say so. Everything. That's what's expected of you as a representative of the people. And even if 2, 3, 4, 5 years have passed, there's still a lot of questions. So you have to allay the fears of Saint Lucians. You have to allay those fears. You have to allay those fears and let the people of Saint Lucia believe that you are committed. You're committed. Because it was your party that spent what? $1 million US to investigate someone? Eh? No evidence. But it's usual. We have the evidence. We come in with it. Jig toujours. Well, if you commissioned the investigation, if you had Robert Lindquist, the best fraud investigator in the world, Cote, oh, it's been investigated in the U.S. court, whatever. Oh, blah, 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 blah. The usual. This has been going on for years, donkey years. Everybody knows it's an SLP ploy. We have the evidence. We'll present the evidence at a time and place when we're ready. This is not new. I've heard it before myself. And if you want, next show, Philip JP, if you want to keep it real mug, I could get you one. No charge to you. Just let me know. You don't have to tell anybody. Right? You all promised before to jail Guy Joseph? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You promised that. Jail Guy Joseph. Tout kalte bagay. All kind of assertions last year. Everything. Oh my gosh. Since the last elections, y'all haven't taken a break. Say it and so. Every single thing this government has embarked upon has been met with some form of allegation. Alligators. Saint Lucia pan alligators, me zotka la, J alligators, left, right, and center. Roar, roar, roar. Well, alligators don't bark. I don't know what sound they make. Check by it. They hiss. They hissing at you. But I don't know, folks. I don't know what's going on. Because, as I've said before, the SLP makes all of these outlandish allegations. And it always seems to be against individuals, respected individuals, against institutions, respected institutions, IMF, Pomplok, NIC, Pomplok, Bank of Saint Lucia, Pomplok, individuals, Pomplok, what's his name? Frank Myers, Pomplok, Isaac Anthony, Pomplok, what's his name at Statistics? Pomplok. The very same people, the very same institution, CDB, Pomplok, the very same people and institutions who gave their reports when the SLP was in office, all were fine and dandy. But now with this administration, any individual who says anything in favor of the government, who supports anything the Prime Minister says, any institution that puts out a report, something wrong. Tourism figures gone up, something wrong with that in the calculation. Economy up, something wrong with that. CDB was mama guy. IMF was mama guy. Tut bagay, something wrong, something wrong. I mean, everybody wrong and y'all alone right? Everybody else is wrong. Every institution was hoodwinked by the government. Only y'all can get it right. Only your plan for the airport is right. Only your plan for St. Jude's was right. Only your plan for OKEU was right. But none of them were you able to complete. None of them were you able to put in any sustainable form of construction, of development, of anything. All fall down. Dish dash, all fall brigidic, bregadek. I don't understand it. I don't understand. The thing is, as I've said before, folks, Philip JP and the SLP, in all their accusations, in all their finger pointing, Edwin St. Catherine at statistics, that's his name. In all the pointing and all of this, in all the crying what the government has done, the simplest investigation, as I've said before, just a little, you don't have to look to find, just like that, you know, thinner than a coat of paint, shows the SLP did exactly the same thing. Exactly the same thing. But you see, this thing about the contract, I will come back to it, you know. Don't forget that. I will come back to it. I will come back to it. But you see, nowadays, there seems to be some type of love, bromance kind of thing with Kenny and Richard. Masav, moi we potwe se bougla ka smile, se bougla ka soukwe la. Moi j'ai kwa potwe ek beau en le fond, bagay lipstick ba masav. I'm just like the tree on the square. Masav. I'm just telling you, social media is something else. Watch it, you know. Social media is something else. You see all kinds of things there. Certain people want to leak and say they're leaking. But the leak is the wrong kind of leak, eh? No credibility, no verifiability, all kind of strange leaks. Me lau hen a lot leak lot side la. And it has their reflection in it. Yoka Hele. It's another story. It's another story. But you know, I want you all to think about those things, folks. Think about them. Because in this day and age that we live in, next week, nai pete se velzot. Nai pete se velzot. Because you see the things people saying about corruption. They're talking about corruption. Corruption, eh? And you know how I deal right here. C'est pas moi. I'm giving it to you in their own words. Lang yo mem. And I know all of you at home, and some people have told me, but I'm going to put it in my own way there, keeping it real. When I put out the evidence for you to have your own analysis of the paralysis, the response at home is, national wood. National wood. Usav sanadi. Deban. National wood. Take a break. I'm going to be right back for your calls. Tonight we're going to have some calls, people. Right back after the break. Good night, folks, and welcome back. Welcome back to this third segment of Keeping It Real tonight. And I just got a message from Labri Auger in the house. Good night to you, Labri Auger. You know, everybody wants to feel special and I'll keep it real with you and give you a little shout out just to let you know that the folks in Labrie, Auger, are in the house tonight. Well, they're in the house every night, but a special good night to you down there in Labrie. Well, things getting hot down there, messieurs. Things are getting hot down there in Labrie. And I don't know what's happening. Seems like there's a revolution in the Republic. Bagay show. I don't know. They're overthrowing people left, right, and center, you know. Hey. I'm just telling you it as it is, as I see it. Lines are open. Give me a call. Let's talk about what we saw tonight. Let's not get all over the map now. You know, some of you like to ramble on two-par-two. You know, keep it real. And if you can't keep it real, you're gone. 450-0777. And if you want to email address will be right up on screen, info@keepingitreal.lc. That's right, no email to it. Si vous voulez check page là aussi. Barcode message, mettez là, QR code. Ba! Million bala. Bon, yes. Abala. Way. That's the way. Keeping it real. That's right. On the cutting edge, right here on Hot 7 TV, where we got you on the radio, we have you on the web page, we have you on Facebook, we have you Hot FM app. Oh yes. All over the place. You can't escape. And of course, on channel 117 TV. That's right, cable TV, channel 117. No show 2-par-2. Nobody can touch it. Keeping it real. Give me a call. Let us talk about the issues that we discuss here tonight. Because, you know, some people want to just put things on the Saint Lucian people. Just bamboozle you. The 3 B's principle. Well, as long as keeping it real is here, the 3 B's principle is not going to be allowed in Saint Lucia. You know what that means, of course. If you don't know, shame on you, because I've mentioned it enough. The 3 B's principle. Bullshit baffles brains. And some people out there clearly subscribe to the 3 B's principle. And I will play that video again. First video of the night. 3 B's principle. Oh, we have a caller on. Good night. You're on the air. Let's keep it real.
Good night, Nabat. How you doing?
Good night. How are you, sir? Thank you for calling.
Yeah, man. I'm enjoying the show tonight, but what I enjoy more about the show is the fact that you are showing the evidence. And, you know, I'm really disappointed with Richard, you know, because oftentimes...
Who are you talking about? Buddy, right?
Yeah, Buddy, yeah.
Buddy, right.
Buddy, yes. Oftentimes he will come out with so-called evidence, you know what I mean? And it's good to see that you came out tonight with your evidence and to prove that what he's saying is absolutely false. Understand? I mean, I didn't even know about where you can do certain clearance within one's country before you go to the States. You know what I mean?
That's right.
I remember I heard the Prime Minister mention that at one time. Understand? But you know, it's good that you showed us tonight that it can happen, and it is happening already.
It is happening.
Basically. And the other thing also, I mean, with Philip J. I mean, I know right now the Labour Party in desperation mood right now. Election is around the corner.
Caller, I'll tell you something. That is the understatement of the year. It's beyond desperation.
Yes, you know what I mean? And I know everything will, they will do anything in their power. But one thing I wanna bring out to you, if you don't mind. And
go ahead, sure.
I don't mean to get go off track. I mean, I was watching Timothy's show with Dr. e03, and then he was making a statement regarding the healthcare system and whatever. And then you called. I thought you would touch on that tonight. But I want to say this because Timothy made asked Dr. Ila a question regarding the healthcare, and he asked him that during the Labour Party reign, no, the question was, did the Labour Party contributed to our downfall in our healthcare? And he went all around the block, but he still didn't answer the question. In other words, the impression that he was giving Saint Lucian public is that the United Workers' Party fault over the years. That's why our healthcare system, and it is really, really, really sad,
But you see,
really
caller, as I had said to Ernest Hille that night, healthcare because what he was trying to push, and he has failed at that, because it was so disingenuous. All of a sudden, he kept repeating it, and you could tell healthcare is in a crisis in Saint Lucia, crisis situation. Caller, prime ministers going back how long? Even back to Lansico as minister of sports at the time, the 80s. Lansico had a walk for the airport. He raised $1 million. I mean, not the airport, for Victoria Hospital. And all through the years, people have been referring to the situation of healthcare in Saint Lucia as being in a crisis. But Ernest Hille will have you believe that the problems in healthcare only began on June the 6th, 2016.
Which is sad, man. Which is very sad.
But you see, I like to look at the numbers.
Right.
We have to look at the numbers so that we can be clinical. And we're dealing with hospitals, so let's be clinical. The hospital burned down in 2009. Am I correct?
Yes.
That is right. The government did not have money at the time to immediately repair or rebuild the hospital. Is that correct? As a result, the government had to go cap in hand to friendly governments, to international agencies. St. Lucians in the diaspora assisted, friendly governments assisted, friends of St. Lucia assisted, and almost to the day, 1 year later, they started work on the hospital. Within a year, elections and the government changed. So it's not fair to say that the government had 2 years, because the government didn't have disposable monies to do it immediately after.
Right.
The SLP campaigned on that SLP thing. They rode that horse. They rode that St. Jude's Buick. And they were in there. And they had every opportunity. 5 years is the elected term in St. Lucia. To fix and finish St. Jude's. It was their priority, but they called elections early. They didn't finish. They kept promising. It was a running joke in St. Lucia by former Minister of Health Alvina Reynolds. November this year. And Kenny Anthony himself now increasing year after year. Almost each time he spoke, the cost of St. Jude's increased. $25 million, $40 million, $60 million, $100 and something million. But Kenny Anthony, I believe at the end of this, end of it all, we will have a state-of-the-art hospital. All the noise they're making, nada. They were unable to deliver St. Jude's. They were unable to open OKEU. They were unable, even after raising by 66% water rates and tacking onto that a desilting levy on Yen Parfait, on Damla. And the list goes on and on. They impose VAT.
Right.
But yet still somebody is supposed to take them seriously about their condemnation of the government when they themselves, on the policies and the promises that they promised the people of St. Lucia that they would accomplish, that they would fix.
Now just two more things before.
Yes.
You realize, and I have realized it for the past couple of years, anytime the United Workers' Party in power, when elections are around the corner, which is about a year and a half again to go, the Labour Party always come out with one song: corruption, 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 corruption.
Well, you singing there, you're going to make me cry.
See, they always come out with this. And they push it, they push that. You understand? It's like this is an anthem for them. The other thing also, and then I know you didn't speak about it, but I still want to elaborate about it. Is Mr. Frank Myers. Is it Myers or Myers?
Myers, Mr. Frank
Myers.
Myers.
I heard Ulis also elaborate on that also. And the impression Ernest was giving to the public,
Caller,
to the public of Saint
this
Lucia.
is so heavy
that-
on the hearts of sensible people.
No, but let me
It's a
say
shame.
that the impression that he was giving to Saint Lucia to the public, because the man is a supporter of the United Workers' Party, okay, that if I, the ordinary citizen, go to get a loan, and if I decide I'm a Labour Party, he will not give me a loan. You understand? That's the impression that he was giving.
But you
And
know what,
it's very,
caller?
very sad, man.
You know what, caller? Sometimes people judge others based on their own record, on their own behavior. Because when the SLP was in office, they had their man on the board as chairman of Bank of St. Lucia. They had their man. Remember Glausav?
But even then...
So are we to ask now whether this individual, because you see, I'll not do the dirtiness that they doing with Frank Myers.
Right.
I will not mention the individual's name.
Right.
Right? Nobody queried his honesty, his integrity, at all, his professionalism.
But even then, no, but I wouldn't even think that whether or not they had their man on the team, this individual would have to look at a person that decides to vote for another party and discriminate, you understand? Mr. Frank Myers is a respectful individual, you understand? And I don't think that he deserves to be, bring down so low by Dr. Ernest man. That is just pitiful.
I mean, it's
and
low.
shameful.
Low.
Understand? Yeah, man. But
Hold
anyhow,
up, but let me ask you a quick question. Why do you think that the SLP, in your words, has become so desperate? Because that's what you said at the beginning of your call. What is causing this for them?
well, at the end of the day, they realize what's happening in Saint Lucia. Nothing is perfect in Saint Lucia, okay? I mean, they give the government a mandate, understand? The government has to fix what they need to fix. And you see, the thing about it, the Labour Party is scared of the success of this government. Obviously, they don't want the government to succeed. And if the government decides, in fact, not decide, but if the government deliver on what they say. Now, I will tell you this, my brother. Healthcare is one of the main things in our country. Our hospital, we need to fix that. There is no excuses for next election coming in that this government cannot take care of the hospital. There's no excuses. You see, now if the government fulfills what they decide to do, the Labour Party know they're in trouble. So they will do whatever it will take. And they have Birdie now pushing the agenda. Understand? You see? Because obviously, you may not want to say, Birdie is getting a reward and he will get a reward. With that, I said, have a good night, my friend.
Thank you very much, caller. Thank you for keeping it real. Real as it gets. Lines are open, folks. Give us a call, 450-0777. Keeping it real tonight is keeping it real with you. Hot issues. So, we have another call? Let's go to that call. Good night.
Yes,
You're on the
Norbert.
air. Let's keep it real.
Good evening, Norbert.
Good evening, sir.
Norbert, the only thing with the United Workers' Party, you see your PR is just...
Slow down a little bit, caller. There's a little bit of noise on your call in my ear.
I tell you, your PR is just too poor.
Hello?
You get me there?
No, what did you say? You all are what?
Your PR, it is very too poor.
Oh, the PR is poor.
Yes, very, very, very poor.
Right.
Because I'll tell you one thing, just like the caller was before me was said, the hospital situation, the St. Jude situation,
Yes.
you have nobody to blame with that situation but the Labour Party. Remember, it's one block of that hospital that was burned down. And when the Labour Party came in, they said they break down everything to rebuild a state-of-the-art hospital.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the point you should be driving home to the people. It was never the intention in the first place to build a new hospital. The block that burned, it's one block that was burned, they could have a St. Jude today. If we don't have a St. Jude today, it's big blame the Labour Party.
Well, caller, I'm agreeing with you totally. But the fact is that regardless of what it was, that the SLP decided to go along a certain route. And if they decided to go along a certain route, they must have done the analysis, they must have done their calculations, they must have done their estimates to deliver on that certain route. The fact is that they, the Saint Lucia Labour Party under Dr. Kenny Anthony, decided to change the route, decided to do something else. And whatever else they decided to do, their plan, their agenda, their policy failed. And so therefore, they are to be held accountable for the state of St. Jude.
That's just what I'm saying, because there were no plans. Because look on that administration, look at the amount of trouble planning gave for that party to go ahead.
You there, caller?
Yeah, I'm there. I'm just telling you of all the problem planning gave. Look, I even understood that planning was asking a plan for the hospital car park when there was already an existing hospital. I mean, these are the things, your PR are just too low. These are the points you're supposed to drive to people. Even the new hospital, it was built without a cafeteria. It was built without a laundry. When the UWP came in, there was somebody just constructing the laundry and the cafeteria. That's what you're supposed to be driving to the people. So when they're making noise about hospital, as those St. Lucians just got up yesterday and they realized that there is no St. Jude and there is no ONET. Anyway, let's keep supporting.
Well, you know what, caller? I am glad that you are bringing this out tonight, because it shows that not every St. Lucian is drinking the Kool-Aid that's being put out there. And sometimes, and too often, the people out there don't articulate well enough. But keeping it real gives you the opportunity to keep it real.
You all have to blame yourself because of your PR. Because there's a lot of things you all got in there that wrong, and you all are not driving it to the people.
Well, caller, let me tell you something. I'm sure the powers that be are listening to you. I'm sure the people who will be able to substantiate what you're saying are listening. And I'm sure the people out there are listening. The powers that be are listening to the frustration about the lack of action that's being taken.
Yeah, honestly, I am very, very disappointed
to deal with
in
the person
of that party.
responsible.
Very, very disappointed in the PR. We all need to push in time of one thing you cannot fault labor on the PR and the organization, and that's what UWP is lacking, because there are enough things that these guys are talking about right now, and you all with we all with the documents and all the evidence, and you all PR, it is just too poor. I'm blaming you all on that. Let me give somebody else a chance. Have a good night.
Thank you very much, caller. Thank you very much for keeping it real. You see, that's the kind of call we want here, folks. That's the kind of call. Let's get the blood going. Give us a call live right now on Keeping It Real, 450-0777. You know, as I was saying earlier, because we have to play it. Because too often people want to mama guide the people of St. Lucia and they get fooled by numbers. Hurry, people like trolls. Chasne. Tout say chasne. But when you get past all the mauvais langue and the mépris, because that's what it is. Mépris is not evidence, you know. Mépris is not evidence. Everybody knows that in Saint Lucia. Saint Lucia, you aime mépris. Good night, you're on the air. Let's keep it real. Go ahead, caller. You're on the air.
Yes, good night. So I have
good night, sir.
Is this a UWP show? Just kind of curious, guy. Just tuned in.
Caller, slow down a little bit. I'm not hearing you too clearly.
No, I'm saying, is this a UWP show? Is that a yes?
Is it a UWP show?
Yeah.
Caller, the show is called Keeping It Real. And
No,
right here deal with the issues of the day. The issues of the day are dictated by what's in the news, what are the talking points, what are the hot issues in St. Lucia.
Because one of the things I kind of dislike
because caller, there's no UWP issue or SLP issue, you know. It's issues about St. Lucia.
I've not heard any type of solution. What I've heard is one-sided blaming. And I'm an independent thinker, and I think if we are to dig into the issues and say, hey, you know, one party just wants to vote for this, and only one party just wants to vote for this, I think that's very misleading to St. Lucians. It separates.
Caller, you making a gross generalization here, and you're not substantiating that with any particular evidence. Are you
Yeah,
saying?
so the evidence is, and let me take
Caller,
my
let
evidence.
me ask
So,
you a
yeah,
question.
no, but let me take my evidence first, because I tuned into the show for 5 minutes, and all I've heard is the SLP government did not do this, the SLP government should be held accountable. The SLP
Yeah, so what's wrong
government-
if you heard that? Is that, are
I'm
you
not saying
saying that
anything
it
wrong
is
with it.
incorrect?
I'm not saying anything wrong with it, but it
Okay.
just makes it seem, and again, I only tuned in for about 15 minutes, but just the 15 minutes I tuned in, it just seems it was a promotion for a particular party and not
But that is, well,
necessarily a
caller,
representation
let's
of the
keep it
issue.
real. That is your estimation. But my question to you is any of the questions that I have asked, or are any of the questions that I have asked irrelevant to what's happening today?
I don't think the questions are irrelevant. I think the conclusions that you come to are one-sided. And I'm not saying that there isn't an issue that you don't.
Okay, so give me an
government,
example
yeah.
then, caller. Give me an example of what you're saying.
All right,
Since
so an
you're saying
example
so,
of the-
you can articulate.
An example of the issue is, for example, you said that the Owen King Hospital was, well, one of your callers mentioned that a cafeteria was
So
not built.
hold on. Caller, slow down. I'm not hearing what you're saying. Say that again.
So one of your callers mentioned that a cafeteria was not built for the Owen King Hospital.
Right.
Is that correct?
If that's what you heard, go ahead.
Yeah, so, and the SLP government is to be blamed for that. Is that what you're saying?
No, you said that's what somebody said. Go on, validate your point.
But that's my point, because it seems like the Owen King Hospital not having a cafeteria is being blamed on policies of the SLP government. I mean, the UWP government is in power right now. What exactly is the solution, and how come there is no blame put on them?
Caller, the question you're asking does not really flow with the statement that you're making.
It doesn't flow.
The hospital, or a hospital, has a number of facilities in. There has to be an operating room,
Obviously.
there has to be a lobby,
It
there
is
has to
a
be a
hospital,
laundry room, there has to be air conditioning, and all of that.
Mhm.
Clearly, a cafeteria was part of the plan for the hospital.
Obviously.
Right. So, if that is not built, and it is part of what is required for the hospital to operate, to provide the services that are intended to be provided there. Because a cafeteria or whatever section of the hospital does not just magically appear. It is budgeted for, money is put out for its construction, for its equipping, for furniture, for equipment, everything else. So if that is not done, and monies have been spent to do that, and you cannot account for things, then there are questions to be asked.
And you are correct. There are questions to be asked, and whoever needs to be addressed should be addressed. My point is that it almost seems that this show is painting every single blame on a previous government. I think both governments, and my point is this, I think both governments have had an opportunity to make things right with the healthcare system in Saint Lucia. And I think neither of them have done any type of impressive job for me to salute any one of them and say, hey.
Colin, I'll tell you something. I'll tell you something right now. I will agree with you. But you have to also accept that the Saint Lucia Labour Party had their term of office to deliver to the people of Saint Lucia what they promised, which was St. Jude, which was OKU, which was the airport, and all the other promises that they made. This current administration inherited from the Saint Lucia Labour Party the failure in delivering all of those projects.
So
This government has been elected into
of
office for 5 years. This is the election term in St. Lucia. Even before 1 year, they were being held accountable for exactly what the SLP failed to deliver. Caller, we're running short of time. I'd like to thank you so much for calling, and thank you
You
for
have a
keeping it
good
real.
evening.
I hope you can call again next show and be a regular caller to the show. Thank you very
no
much.
problem. Yeah.
You know, folks, we're running out of time. I've been told that we're running out of time. But what I want to stress to you here tonight, and a lot of people have said so, but we have to look at the reality of the situation. That the St. Lucia Labour Party had their time in office to deliver on these projects. The St. Lucia Labour Party had the opportunity to run through the entire 5-year term to finish those projects. St. Jude's Hospital, the OKEU, and everything else they failed at would not have been, clearly, been delivered, been completed at the end of their 5-year term. They decided to call elections, and now this government has inherited their failures, and this government is moving forward in accomplishing all of that. It has been proved, it has been shown on the ground what is happening. The economy is moving, tourist numbers are higher, economy moving in the positive direction, employment is moving in the right direction, VAT has been reduced, and so many other things. That's it tonight, folks. Think about what you saw, go online, watch the show again, come to your analysis of the paralysis. Thanks again. Join me next week for another episode of Keeping It Real right here on Hot 7. I'm Norbert Williams. Good night.